Missing someone with all your missing someone
I want to go lighter, eventually blonde, but I know it's so dark right now, so get me as close as possible.
Okay, can I see your goal of
Oh yeah.
the people? And you like how the ends are a little bit more lighter, like it gradually gets, okay.
Yeah.
And then you like the front money piece like that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, they both have that. Okay.
Yeah. If you can make the money pieces brighter, that'd be great, but if my hair can't take it, I totally understand.
So here is a returning client. We originally did like a full balayage, I would say a couple years ago, and on the very tips of her hair she does have some old highlights that were darkened, and in the meantime too she's done like a few rounds, I believe, of Arctic Fox to kind of darken her hair. And then here you can briefly see there's like a little test strand that I did prior to this appointment because I was a little concerned with the pieces of old highlights that we did originally and how they were darkened, because I believe she did that herself. And during the test strand her hair felt pretty good. It lifted somewhat evenly, and then I felt comfortable enough to take her on and do this transformation. So essentially her goal eventually is to be blonde, but she knows it's going to be a process. She is pretty much like, I would say she's a true level 1. Like in person her hair is very dark and thick and coarse, but it's also very beautiful, and just she has so much hair. And so we're going to be going in and doing my signature placement. I do a few foils around the nape of the neck, and then I'm just going to be slicing, and then at the very end I will be adding some tip outs to kind of give her that effect to where the roots are darker and the ends get a little bit lighter. And today we're using the Danger Jones powder lightener that has 9+ levels of lift. Up until this point I've been using 5 volume and 20 volume, and I like to mix that 1 to 2 with the developer. After that I'm going to be just using 20 volume for the rest of the head. Now because her hair is really coarse, really thick, and also pretty dark naturally, I want to make sure that my slices are pretty close together. I don't want to space them out too much because it's going to lose the pops of light because of how dark she naturally is. So we want to make sure that these slices are nice and close together all the way throughout the whole thing, because eventually too we are kind of gonna try to make her blonde again. And so when she comes in for her next appointment, I am going to be picking out all of the pieces that I left out this time that is pretty much the dimension pieces in this appointment. I will be picking them up for the next appointment. Now, I normally don't always do a test strand, but sometimes I will have a client come in if through text message I'm not sure if I'm able to lighten their hair. And one of the main reasons why we did a test strand is because whenever you have highlights that are at least like a level 8 or like above a level 9, and then you go darker, it's always, you just have to be a little bit more careful when you're relightening those pieces that you've essentially darkened. So in other words, even though you darken old highlights, it doesn't necessarily mean that your hair gets healthier. I find that some clients have a misconception of that, the idea that when you go darker from being blonde, suddenly your hair gets healthier again. And that's not the case. If anything, like your hair health kind of is the same. The only thing that you did different was pretty much darken those highlights. So if your hair, let's say, is like a level or lifted to a level 10 and then you darken it and then you try to relighten it, you got to consider that you're kind of lightening hair that may not appear to be a level 10, but underneath that dark color it is a level 10. So you kind of have to treat it like it's at a level 10 so that you can minimize damage. And you know, sometimes when a client does have hair that is too light underneath and I feel like that their hair might not be able to take it, then I just kind of kindly let them know that they'll have to grow out those pieces, and then until then I would just recommend doing either treatments or just having it grow out before we do a full transformation, because I never feel like it's worth it to go over or lighten the hair if the hair really can't take it in the end, because the client's not going to be happy, the color is not going to take, it's just not going to look good, and the blend and everything is just not going to be what the client is anticipating, nor are you as a stylist. So I always will rather turn down a project than take it on because of that reason, because I just feel like if it's not going to be somewhat close to the inspiration, then I don't feel that it's worth either of our times, the clients or mine. And I feel like being very upfront and honest of the process and the situation with your client, and just like explaining it so that they really understand what is happening, it kind of creates this nice trust between you and your client, because you're not essentially just doing a project just because you kind of want them in your chair and want you like to take their money or anything like that. It's more so that you really care about your work, and you also care about them and the quality of what you're putting out on and the service that you'll be giving. And I feel like working towards that and creating a game plan, let's say if a client isn't able to lighten their hair, I feel like in the end I've had so many clients appreciate that more when we are slowly or able to create a game plan for them to eventually get there, and it just makes it a lot more of a meaningful process, and they always appreciate that way more than me trying to push their hair or anything like that. So my client in her consultation said she did want the front lighter, so I did like some slices in the front money piece area around her hairline, and then connected the money piece with some slices in the mohawk section. And then after I did all of the money piece around the face, I did a foil above the ear to connect that front and back. And then now I'm just going to continue doing my slicing pattern up the side of the head to get to the top mohawk section that I originally did. And guys, if you guys haven't tried this placement, I've had a ton of people reach back out to me and let me know that they've watched my videos and tried out this placement and how much faster it is. So I'd say, like, if you struggle, or like if you're a stylist that struggles with time and also struggles with remembering what you did on your client last time, I feel like this placement is super easy and versatile, that you can change it up to having it be a very high impact blonde or very dimensional blonde and still keep the same sectioning pattern and get through your full head a lot quicker. And when I say a lot quicker, I used to foil maybe like at least like an hour and a half, and now sometimes I could even do a full head in like 45 minutes to an hour. And so I say just like give it a shot and see if you even like it. And of course you can always like tweak this to make it your own. I just find this is what works for me, and I feel like I have just been loving the way that I can just alter it just a little bit, but always know what I had done last time, because even though I alter it a little bit, it's still pretty much like the same, I would say, blueprint that I've been doing on a lot of clients. So it's very easy for me to kind of pick up where I left off last time, but also alter it if a client ever changes their mind. So now I'm going to be going in for her teases. For her teases, I'm just going to be using 20 volume. I normally don't go anything past that. So for the teases, I like to separate them in the foil. Like, I'll kind of over direct these side ones towards the front, and I usually will do a tease, and I usually tease from the bottom, and then I will do a weave and try to make sure that my tip outs, wherever I'm painting, it's extremely see-through, because I want to get a really clean even lift on these tip outs to kind of prevent any like warm spots or weird like demarcation lines. So I'll make sure that they're nice and see-through. If I feel like that section is a little too thick, then I'll kind of split it in half. But overall, I feel like when you do a very thin tip out for your tip outs, it just gets a really clean, nice, even lift. So as I was pulling at her foils, I noticed at the very ends of her hair where the old highlights were kind of lifted a little peachy pink, and that's probably from the Arctic Fox that she used. Sometimes when you use like a really dark direct dye tone, it will stain the hair and can lift a little funky, but overall I feel like it would be fine because we were going to be doing more of like a brown anyways, and it was such a light pink that it really didn't matter too much. So I'm going to be going in with the Danger Jones gloss toners. So for her root formulation, we're going to be doing a 5-0, which is a level 5 natural, and this is just kind of like blur out those slices that we did all over to kind of give her a deeper shadow root. And then for her mid, I'm just going to be using their 6-0, which is a level 6 natural. I am using 3 toners for this formula, so the last toner is going to be the 7-0, and this is going to just kind of give a really pretty nice melt and help cancel out a lot of that warmth that pulled through as we lightened it because it was so dark. And so when this does fade out, I would say it is going to fade out to like a lighter, warmer brown. And then next time when she comes in, I can definitely try to lighten her hair up and get her a little bit closer to blonde. So after applying the toner, I let that brush it out and then let it sit for about 10 minutes and then washed and conditioned. And then usually whenever I do any type of color service on any client and they get a blow dry or a style, I will always blow dry them out, and then I usually will throw in some curls because I just feel like it just shows off the dimension a lot better. And whenever you have a balayage or highlights or anything, when it's curled, it definitely looks lighter than it does when it's straight. So I always like to show off that aspect of the color popping against their natural dimension.
It looks so good! Compose yourself? You're a different woman now. This looks so good! Are you kidding me? Look at this. What's my favorite part? That's my favorite part. With like a peek of this. Oh my goodness! Who is she? Hello? Hi.
Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. She came out really nicely. I feel like it has the perfect amount of dimension, and I feel like it creates that beautiful melt. She especially liked how the front was a little bit lighter with adding those more detailed pieces around her hairline, and I feel like this is going to fade out really pretty, and the next time when she comes in, we can definitely get her to be a little bit more blonder. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.